Hello and welcome to all judges to the engineering design presentation of Team Madbolt Racing of St. Gitt's College of Engineering, Kottayam, Kerala. This is the first time our team is participating in a Formula Student event. Hence, the team was completely focused on covering the entire rule. Priority was given to completing the car well before the given event date and testing it rigorously. Efforts were made to keep the cost minimal and manufacturing process effective, proper, and ethical. The ultimate goal of our team was to design a reliable Formula Student car and showcase good engineering practices in the process. Here we can see the initial design decisions and assumptions made by the team. An important initial assumption made by the team was that the vehicle would weigh 285 kgs combined with the vehicle and the driver. Other important decisions and assumptions can be found on our report. If you could please refer to it. In this slide, we can see the work plan of our team. The team started work in February, but soon the pandemic struck and the work pace was slowed. Now we can move to the engineering design presentation of each department.
Now let's go to the EDP slides of chassis department of Team Madbolt Formula Racing. Starting by the introduction. Since the chassis ought to support all the various departments of the whole vehicle, the chassis design is deemed one of the most important sections to be handled with care. The cockpit design is of great importance and has to consider the 95th percentile male rule, and the chassis design must never compromise driver safety at any condition. The chassis constructed must have the required minimum stiffness, strength, and torsional rigidity, and must be highly reliable and safe. Now let's move on to the next slide, which is concerning methodology, which is divided to 7 irreplaceable factors that must be satisfied by the overall design of the chassis. They are: the chassis must be made according to Formula Bharat rulebook, and any deviation from the rule leads to failure in the design. And it must be aimed to decreasing the overall weight and must never compromise the minimum quality of the chassis, which will affect the other departments to a greater extent. The center of gravity must be low as possible, and it must be designed with relevance to its manufacturability and serviceability. The maximum safety of driver is given utmost importance while considering the overall design of chassis. The proper spacing for engine and drivetrain component is done, and the overall designing must be in accordance with suspension points. Now concerning the material selection, or why we choose AISI 1020 for the overall design, various chemical, physical, mechanical and other factors are also considered. Most importantly, AISI 1020 has low hardenability properties and is a low tensile carbon steel with brittle hardness of 119 to 235 and tensile strength of 410 to 790 megapascal. AISI 1020 has high machinability, high strength and high ductility and good weldability. It is highly resistant to induction hardness or flame hardening due to its low carbon content. AISI 1020 will never respond to nitriding due to its lack of alloying elements. The chemical properties, physical properties, mechanical properties are fully backed up in tabular form in the slides. And further concerning machining and weldability, in cold drawn or turned and polished condition, AISI 1020 steel has high machinability and it can be used for drilling, turning, milling and taping operations. Also, AISI 1020 has better weldability in cold drawn or turned and polished conditions. Hence why we chose AISI 1020. Now let's move on to the analysis part, which is done using ANSYS through subsequent iteration. The front, rear, side impact and torsional rigidity analysis are done and explained in the report. But taken into the constraint of time duration of the presentation, let us move on to the torsional rigidity of front and rear chassis. The maximum equivalent elastic strain, equivalent stress and total deformation concerning front torsion analysis of chassis are 0.0028643, 557.68 megapascal and 2.3262 mm respectively. And also the maximum equivalent elastic strain, equivalent stress and total deformation concerning rear torsion analysis upon the chassis are 0.002557 498.51 megapascal and 2.5708 mm respectively. Finally, proceeding into the calculation which is provided in the report, concerning front torsion analysis, the torsional stiffness is found to be 1177.008 Nm per degree, and concerning rear torsion analysis, the torsional stiffness is found to be 1145.4247 Newton meter per degree. Hence, in conclusion, the torsional stiffness percentage acting on the front to the overall is 50.67%. And hence, we come to the end of the presentation part for chassis department.
Greetings all, my name is Aravinda Nair. I will be dealing with the Vehicle Dynamics and Suspension department for this year's car. We started our design by conducting a vehicle dynamic modeling, specifically the wheel load modeling for 3 different cases of pure acceleration and braking, pure cornering and combined loading cases. Such a modeling was done to finalize the wheelbase and track width of our car. For this year car, we have selected 1.575 meter wheelbase, 1.214 meter of front track width and 1.15 meter of rear track width. This has been based on the equivalent wheel load distribution and the roll stiffness requirement for our cars. Next we move on to the tire data modeling for our car. We used modified Dugoff model due to its modeling simplicity and result accuracy. The modeling acts as a basis for the other vehicle dynamic models. Modeling was done on 3 different loads, namely 800 Newton, 1200 Newton and 1800 Newtons. The resulting curves are shown in the slide. Next we conducted a point mass lap time simulation on Optimum Lap to base most of our vehicle dynamic model. Our car, which was modeled after the initial design cases, was compared with a 600cc engine powered non-aero FS car obtained from the Optimum G Cloud. Upon iteration, our car at 3.733 of final drive ratio and the peak torque acting at 7800 rpm, our car was only 1.05 seconds behind the comparison in a German autocross track used. We observed that our car averages at a 60 to 70 km range in the autocross track and the top speed of 93 km was attained in the final straight. All the obtained data was distributed to all our department to aid their design. Some relevant plots comparing our car to the comparison car are displayed in this slide. Next, we modeled a linear bicycle model as a representation of the vehicle's yaw rate, CG slip angle, steady state cornering behavior and the tire slip angles. We considered 2 cornering cases of skid pad turn and 3.5 meter hairpin turn. The input data for this model was taken from the tire data models, Optimum Lap outputs and a graphical modeling in SolidWorks. On the model state space representation for both cornering cases, 4.23 degree and 10.37 degree of CG slip angles were obtained for both skid pad and the 3.5 meter hairpin turn. 68.13 degree per second and 131.16 degree per second of yaw rate were obtained for the above mentioned cases. Moving on, we calculated the understeer gradient for the 2 cornering condition, which was modeled using the tire data plots and the wheel load modeling for the cornering cases. Minus 0.0056 and 0.00543 of understeer gradient was obtained for skid pad and 3.5 meter turns respectively. Using these values, a curvature response, yaw acceleration gain and lateral acceleration curves were plotted, and the plots for the skid pad case are displayed in the slide. Next, we plotted a Mimuro diagram for our car based on our vehicle dynamic models. This model acts as a base to compare the cornering behavior of our car to the cars we'll produce in the future. Both the skid pad case represented in orange and 3.5 meter turn, which is represented in blue, has been considered in the modeling. Details of the graph parameters and the plot are described in the report. Next, we move on to our suspension design. We start off with suspension kinematic modeling using Lotus Shark software. Our initial designs are explained briefly in our design report. For both front and rear, double wishbone pushrod actuated suspensions were selected. The final iteration obtained 2.36 degree and 2.1 degree of camber front and rear and static toe of minus 0.36 and 0 degree front and rear. The toe variation in bump and roll conditions will be in the range of hundredths of a degree after pointing the toe link towards the axles IC. 30.5 mm and 51.26 mm of roll centers were obtained for both front and rear. Steering kinematics are also done with prior reference to our steering department, obtaining 85% Ackermann in its maximum turn radius of 3.62 meters. Now we calculate vehicle rates and frequencies based on the wheel load models, and the wheel rates are selected as a compromise between maintaining a 55% of roll stiffness to the front and motion ratio ranging near 1:1 and no bottom out cases on bump loads. The obtained parameters are represented in the table after selecting a 300 lp per inch spring with a motion ratio of 1.12:1 at the front and 350 lp per inch spring with motion ratio of 0.98:1 in the rear. Next, we graphically analyze the motion ratio variation in SolidWorks by plotting the hardpoint coordinates obtained from Lotus software. A trend of increasing wheel rate at the bump travel was preferred in the design. The line diagram produced for front rockers and its motion ratio variation plots have been shown in the slide. Next, we conducted a link force calculation to base our FEA of our suspension components using load coordinate matrix method, which uses a 6x6 matrix obtained from coordinate vectors and a 6:1 matrix of input load from the 6 loading cases we considered. An example of output for toe link is shown in this slide. Now we design and analyze our suspension components. We start with designing suspension linkages, which includes A-arms, pushrod and toe links. AISA 4130 chromoly tubes of 19 mm by 1.65 mm has been selected after having more than enough strength properties for our design loads according to our material spec sheet. Based on the calculation, the tie rod and the pushrod obtain mostly axial load, hence FEA was not conducted for the mentioned components. For A-arm, FEA was conducted for 2 cases, including cantilever loading and an axial loading from chassis end. Its FEA showed a peak of 517 MPa for cantilever loading. Next, we designed the uprights, which was made to adjust static camber by changing the shim thickness of the UBJ. It is to be made from 7075 T6 aluminum due to its superior strength properties and lightweight aspect. FES conducted for 4G bump and 1.5G cornering and 4G bump and braking conditions respectively. A maximum equivalent stress obtained was for the brake caliper mount for case 2 for the front upright with a value of 118.1 MPa. The estimated weights are 1.7 kg for the front and 1.56 kg for the rear. The image represents the FEA of case 2 for the front upright. Next, our UBJ brackets were designed after component collision considerations and bush spacings. For FEA, a load of 6G bump and 1.5G cornering has been given and a peak equivalent stress of 382 MPa was obtained for the front UBJ as shown. Next, our wheel hubs were designed based on fitment to our rims, brake rotor placement and bearing dimensions. FEA was conducted for the mentioned 3 cases and a peak stress of 197 MPa was obtained for bump plus cornering condition. The front and rear hubs weigh 17 grams and 1.13 kilograms respectively. An FEA image for the most extreme case is mentioned in the slide. Next, we design our pushrod rocker arms with dimensions obtained from the line diagram drawn before. The analysis will be conducted for both extreme bump and droop cases, and a peak stress of 128 MPa was obtained for the front rocker. The weight of front and rear rockers are 258 gram and 265 gram respectively. Images of our final suspension assembly for both front and rear are displayed in this slide. Now we move on to the powertrain design, which will be presented by powertrain lead Sachin KCB.
Powertrain is start with selection of engine. Here we select KTM 390 engine. KTM 390 is selected on the basis of its performance. It have good power to weight ratio and lightweight. And comes to drivetrain, final drive is driven by chain and sprocket, and the final reduction is 3.73:1. Here open type differential is selected based on its excellent driving facility and its availability. Here we use 18-inch MRF dry stick tire, and this is our vehicle acceleration and a velocity table. This is our vehicle traction model. Comes to air intake design, first stage is throttle body selection. Here we use two throttle body, KTM 390 throttle body and KTM 125 throttle body. Reason for using two throttle body: at certain point during throttling by 390 TB, at an earlier point itself, the 20 mm rustler will get saturated with airflow and the rest of the throttle travel is of no use. But due to a decrease in diameter of 195 throttle body, this point shifts to a much later stage, increasing the throttle response. The Bose TPS used in both are same, so there is no any wiring adaptation problem. Duke 390 TB uses a junction between intake runner and intake port. To air intake design, second stage is restrictor design. Here main design constraint for restrictor is 20 mm throat diameter. Here restrictor is selected on the basis of pressure drop and velocity strain. Convergent and divergent angle are fixed by iteration method, and the value is given in the slide. In this restrictor, pressure drop is minimum. This is the pressure control, static pressure versus position graph, and velocity streamline. Third stage of air intake design is plenum design. Performance of engine at higher speeds improves with increase in plenum volume. Here we selected 1.2 liter, which is almost 3 times the engine displacement. Here we analyzed ellipsoidal shape, double piston shape, and log shape. Double piston shape plenum reduced vortex formation to a significant amount, so double piston shape is selected. Fourth stage of air intake design is runner length determination. Runner length is determined using David's Wizard rule, and the final length is fixed on the basis of analysis. Final length of runner is 270 SO system. Head length is determined using an equation and is fixed on the basis of analysis, and the header length is 541.02 mm. Here we use generic free flow muffler to reduce its noise.
The radiator. The radiator is a type of container which has multiple tube-like structures arranged in a way to pass the air through it and hence helps the coolant to cool faster. These tubes or fins are made of aluminium, which is a good conductor of heat, and it dissipates heat in faster terms. They are mainly used to convert thermal energy from one mode to the other for the purpose of cooling. The types of radiators include single pass, double pass, and triple pass. Based on their types, we have the grill tube radiator, tubular radiator, and the cellular radiator. Now for doing the calculations, we are using a 390cc engine which gives a maximum engine power output of 43 horsepower at 9000 rpm. So taking the fluid properties of air from the fundamentals of heat and mass transfer by Dewitt, we get the following constants and we apply it into the equation Q is equal to mCp delta T. From here we are going to find out m, or the flow rate, and we obtained it to be 1453 CFM or cubic feet per minute, which is the amount of airflow required to remove 43 horsepower of heat. The calculations, the result we can obtain is that we plan to take a stock radiator of the KTM 390cc Adventure as it has a dual fan and greater surface area. The max rejection by the engine is as calculated and a 1453 CFM fan is mounted to the radiator.
Hello judges, this is Kiran here to give you an insight into our steering system. Since this was our first time entry into a Formula event, we didn't want to do any experiments and we just straight went into taking Ackermann steering as suggested by a lot of people and a lot of journals. And a lot of software helped us in a lot of way, and the suspension team provided with us all the coordinates and values necessary for the steering system calculations. From there we moved on to find our steering ratio, rack travel, etc. We obtained a steering ratio of 6:1, a rack travel of 68 mm. After that, we straight went on to machine a customized rack and pinion. Then we moved on to the shafts and universal joint section. We had a plenty of problem placing the shafts and the universal joints in a proper manner since our rack was kind of close to the front hoop. In this figure named steering shaft position, you can see how we aligned our shaft and universal joint systems. Then the next figure shows the rack placement, which is approximately 76 mm from the front hoop. A 10-inch steering wheel was used based on the steering effort calculations. Material selection. This table represents the material selection of our shaft. We straight up decided to use 7075 aluminum since it had more shear strength than 6061 aluminum but had less density than 4130 steel. The design constraints contained of our rack position being a bit of headache for us because it was kind of way too close to the front hoop, so we had no way to incorporate just one universal joint to reduce the play, but we managed after a lot of efforts to incorporate two of them and keep our steering play less than 7 degree. All the calculations and theory based on this study can be found in our report that we kept. So that's it for steering, and now I move on to the brake system. During the brake system design, all the expertise we had suggested that we use the tire data and reverse calculate our pressures and forces, but due to some first time team limitations, we had to start by using all the basic equations and work our way up. This brought us in to find the ideal braking force, which we equated to find the caliper piston dia and master cylinder bore, and which helped us to select which ones to use. We found out our brake pedal ratio as 5:1 and selected a suitable material for our pedal as 6061 T6 aluminum. We almost concluded with the brake rotor pads material selection. In this slide, you can see the material selection for the brake pads as well as the pedal box. 6061 T6 aluminum was chosen as it has kind of more advantages than the rest of the materials, and that is given in the report as well. A semi-metallic pad was used as our brake pad, as the coefficient of friction of the pad was sufficient for us. This slide shows you the master cylinder and caliper which we used. Major restrictions for our braking system was that since the rim diameter was 13 inch, we had to fit our rotor as well as caliper in that gap, so we had to find a rotor such that it matches our hub design, and that was all. Thank you.
I am Joel Matthew Abraham, and today we look into the aerodynamic package of our car. So our key objective was to minimize air resistance. The part of increasing downforce was neglected since our car maximum speed was 110 and our optimum speed would be an 80. So downforce was not considered. Then we had to go into a nose cone geometry, which would provide us with the lowest drag force, and hence we went into the field of rocket science, where we got four main shapes, and we did a comparative study to obtain the final shape that was LD hack with the lowest CD among all the four, and CD was 0.447. the RANS model simulation was carried out on the model, and hence the result as told above. And then we made the geometry by making the shape of HELDIAC adapt to our rule book, and made another simulation, and we got our entire car's drag coefficient as 1.4275 and a drag force of 430 newtons. In our simulations and our venture of designing, we did face some limitations due to proper software licensing and making the design meet manufacturability due to lack of precision bodyworks in our localities, and especially during these tough times were some hardships which we had as challenges in our fronts. And thank you.